Elvira. She is the head of talent, partnerships, and career development at Quest Professional, which supports individuals to help bridge the gap between university and the workplace by helping them build their professional skills. So she'll be sharing tips on how to gain confidence before that first week of your job, and how to make a lasting impression there as well. So just while Elvira's speaking, please make sure that you keep yourselves on mute, but please type any questions that you have in the chat for us to cover them at the end. And this webinar is being recorded too, so you'll have the chance to come back to it in the future. So on that note, Elvira, would you like to take over? Oh, I think you're just on mute.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Let me quickly share my screen with you. It's so brilliant to be here. Thank you. Here we go. Yeah, so hi. Oh, sorry. Can you...
There we go. Yep, you can see
there
that.
we go. Sorry. So I am from a company called Quest Professional, and the whole point of Quest is to get our students a job. So it's focusing on things like marketing, presentation skills, and how do you as the individual get your best foot forward and impress in an interview. And so I work every day with students working on interpersonal skills and getting them ready to get the job of their dream. So today we are going to look at how to impress in 30 seconds and how to impress on your first week of the job. So only 7% of a message is conveyed through words. The other 93% comes from non-verbal communication. This means that actually how you present yourself, how you hold your body, how you manage your attitude and your mood really matters, especially when you're first meeting someone. So in your first week of a job, interviews, internships, how you hold yourself and how you hold your body really matters. And actually, you can mess up all your words, but it's how you project your energy that people remember. So what do we first sort of notice when we meet someone? We notice their posture and body language. How are they holding themselves? Are they standing up straight, or are you slumping down? Are you smiling? Has the individual got really strong eye contact? Eye contact's a difficult one because a lot of people find that a little bit more uncomfortable, having to look deep in someone's eyes. I know I do. So I always say look in between the foreheads, but I'll come back to that. A strong handshake. You notice someone's appearance, how they're dressed. Are they sloppy or are they looking sharp? Is the individual on time? Have they, prepared properly? And how well do they introduce themselves? Are they able to clearly pronunciate who they are and where they're from? So we're going to look at all of these things. So the first thing we're going to look at is, what does negative body language look like? So the main thing I think most people do, myself included a lot, is we all love to fold our hands in front of each other. So that is the man on the far right with his folded arms. We do this because that is our safety blanket. And it's not necessarily that we're being rude or that we're disinterested, but having our arms across our body instantly makes us more cocooned. It feels like we're holding ourselves. And actually opening up your body can feel really vulnerable and scary. And so we naturally fold our arms. But the problem with that is it can look abrasive, makes you look uninterested, can make you look bored, can make you look irritated. So unfortunately, even though it feels really safe, it looks very negative. The next thing is a minimal or tense facial expression. Now, I'm very aware that some people naturally have more of a resting, unhappy face. That is okay. You just have to then try and smile. And it really does matter in those first minutes, that first week when you're meeting people, because they're just going to assume that you are grumpy because of your facial expressions. And that's not fair on you as an individual. So it's really important to remember how we're holding our face. And I think it's very natural to remember that in your first week of work and interviews and when you're meeting people, it's really nerve-wracking. So naturally, all we want to do is fold our arms, be tense, and it's stressful. So it's even harder to then relax. Body turned away from you. So this is when you are someone's facing you and you're just putting your shoulders to them or turning your back. This, like the folded arms, is we do this to protect ourselves, but what we really need to do is open up our body and face the person straight on. And finally, eyes downcast, making little eye contact. So this comes all back to eye contact. Eye contact, I will say a million times in this meeting how important eye contact is. It is uncomfortable and it feels weird and it feels intrusive sometimes, but it makes somebody else across from you feel heard, feel seen, feel important. And so, like I say, if you are someone that finds eye contact difficult, look just between the two eyes and the nose. So look straight in the middle of the lower forehead, and no one knows that you're not looking in their eyes, but they feel seen. So now to some positive body language. Have an open, positive posture. Now, easier said than done, because we do all of the negative body languages to protect ourselves. So all of this stuff is going to feel very vulnerable, but the more you practice, the easier it gets. So you need, first and foremost, open body posture. Imagine someone is pulling your shoulders back and holding you up straight. And again, this will help you not cross your arms. If the whole time you're like, someone's pulling my shoulders back and my head up, you're going to have instantly a more open and a more approachable posture. Relax your body. Again, easier said than done, because when you're meeting new people, it's your first week of work, it's an interview, you're going to be nervous. And naturally, we hold most of our tension in our body. So I think a really good way to combat relaxing your body is thinking about how you prepare for your first week and how you prepare for walking in that door, because you want your nerves to be as relaxed as possible. So how do you do that? So for me, I love to go on if I've got a meeting or I'm starting a new job, I'll always get there maybe 40 minutes early, listen to some really loud music, go on a walk, just play out all the scenarios in my head. Some people like to do mantras, some people like to meditate, some people pray. Everybody has their own thing, but the calmer you are, the more relaxed your body will be. Next point is avoid touching your hair and face. This is one that we do so subconsciously when we're nervous. We fiddle a lot with our face or our earrings or our hair or just swooping our hair back. I am a fidgeter. I always fidget. It's probably why I use my hands so much. So a way I combat that is I tie my hair up. And if I know I'm in a certain situation where I feel really nervous, I'm just very much conscious of holding my hands like this in front of my body, because when I'm holding my hands like this, I can't fiddle with anything else. Using mirroring. So I love mirroring because it makes the person that you're across the room with or across the table standing with feel more comfortable. So mirroring is a very simple technique, but also can go a little wrong, is where you copy subtly the person in front of you's actions. So if we were having a chat, you as someone that maybe didn't use their hands more, and me as somebody that always uses my hands to communicate, you might start using your hands a little bit, because what that would do is make me feel more relaxed and calm. The one thing I will say about mirroring someone's actions is that it can look like mimicking. And I think focus on all the other positive body languages that you could conquer, and then use mirroring as a last cherry on the top. But it is really good because it makes the person across the room for you feel more calm. The next point is looking interested and interested. So it's really easy to, again, have that face that looks uninterested, even if you really care and you're engaged. So another way of looking engaged and interested is simply just nodding your head when people are speaking, and simple oh yes, that sort of thing. Again, it just makes the person across from you feel heard, sees that you're interacting, and it makes you look more interested. Keep your head up. So it's very interesting. A lot of people very naturally look down at their hands when they're speaking. And again, we do that because of nerves. And it's much easier to look at our hands sometimes than someone in the face. Just always just keep going back to looking someone in the middle of the forehead, looking people in the eyes, smiling. Again, it doesn't mean that you're not interested. We do these things to protect ourselves. But if you're someone that as well looks naturally down in their lap, again, hold your hands together because it's going to detract you from looking down. Use open hand gestures and practice your posture. Again, I probably use too many hand gestures, but hand gestures show that you're passionate, that you're engaged, that you know what you're talking about, and it makes you seem like interactive. Again, this is something that comes with practice. I would really, really urge you to practice talking in front of a mirror, just because then practice makes perfect. And finally, smile. When we're nervous, again, tense, everything tenses up, but smiling is a real natural relaxant for us all. And so if you can smile as much as possible, I would highly recommend it. So my 3 takeaways from this slide is I would suggest always smiling, eye contact, and try and have as open body posture as possible. I think they are the 3 key points to looking open, interested, and interactive. The handshake. So a handshake is exceptionally important for when you're first meeting lots of people. A handshake, in a way, defines your entry into the office or into the interview, and it starts the introduction. So first of all, what do you need to succeed in your handshake? You need to know what your line is. So for me, when I shake someone's hand, I'm always just like, hey, I'm Elvira, so lovely to meet you. So just practice saying that. For me, it just rolls off the tongue, and the more you do it, the more it does. You let the person you're meeting with put their right hand to meet yours, and then you shake their hand. So you need eye contact. So you look people in the eye, a firm grip. Now, a firm grip, you'll see I've got a photo of a fish, because the worst thing in the world is when someone has a floppy handshake. So you need to shake someone's hand as if you are holding onto a child that you're about to cross a road. So you don't want to crunch their hand, but you need to have it so it's safe and secure. So look in the eye, firm hand grip, smile, and then hopefully that's a great introduction. Again, the more I emphasize is practice your handshake and practice your introduction, because no one will comment on a bad handshake, but people will be like, oh, it's got a quite limp handshake. So think about that. And actually on the right hand side are some examples of how to hold it. So like really like grip someone's hand where there's a tick. Amazing. So all of this stuff, all of this entering a new office and meeting new people, all comes down to preparation. The more you prepare for your first week of work, the easier it's going to be. So I think the key point here, and this will carry you through every job interview, is be prepared to speak about yourself. I think speaking about myself is one of the worst things in the world. I hate it, but it's the thing that I often get asked most about, because people want to know about you. And at the end, I've got a little tip that I think has helped really made my life easier when it comes to talking about myself, but being prepared to talk about yourself. So just practice that. Think about your body language. Practice, practice, practice. If you are someone that is naturally a hands in a pocket type of person, a folded arms person, a sloucher, practice just every time you're doing it. Note that you are, oh, I've got my arms crossed again, I'll uncross it. Or my hands are in my pocket, I'll take them out. So anything that you feel that might not necessarily aid you the best, note it in your head every time you're doing it and correct yourself. And then naturally it will become second nature. Look professional and appropriate. My rule of thumb is always be overdressed rather than underdressed. You do not want to be scruffy in your first week of work. And do you know what? When you're overdressed, you can always die down. So it's much better. And know your industry. So are you doing corporate finance? Well, you're going to have to wear a suit, and I personally would suggest wearing ties. For girls, jackets, skirts, blazers. Be smart. If you're doing fashion or something creative, then maybe more liberal. But check with who you're interviewing or who is looking after you on your first week. Ask what they're wearing so you can match that. But definitely always be more smart than scruffy. Calm your nerves, manage your mood and attitude, and stay positive. This one is interesting because you'll be surprised how much of your mood and attitude you bring into a room. So you've got to learn how to manage all of that, because you want to put your best foot forward, and somehow you've got to detach from whatever else is going on in the world to that time where you just have to walk into the office and be like, this is me, I'm going to put my best foot forward. There are multiple ways that you can do it. For some people, it's like going to the gym in the morning, it's walking to work, it's, like I've said again, do you have your mantras? Do you meditate? What calms you down? Do you listen to loud music? One of the methods I personally use is I like the 1, 2, 3 method. So I get to the door and I'm like, 1, 2, 3, game face. And I walk into the office and I'm like, for the next half an hour, I will be top form. And then it gets easier and easier and easier. But do really remember that how you are feeling can be brought into the office and that meeting very easily. So you want to try and detract from any negative thoughts or moods as much as possible. The next one is practice your introduction. So this is practice your handshake. Practice how you're going to approach people. Practice your friends and your families. You in your first week, my advice would be is talk to as many people as possible. And throughout your career, talk to as many people as possible. So if you see someone that's in an interesting department that you might like to work in, making a coffee, go and make a coffee too. Or if someone's like, oh, I'm going to grab some lunch, you'd be like, me too. Just get to know as many people, because when it comes to promotions and pay rises, you will be the person that they think of, because everybody knows you. And so it will only aid you positively. So practice how you introduce yourself so everyone remembers you. Dress for the occasion. Again, this goes back to look appropriate and professional. Dress for your office. Be smart, overdressed, but read the room. Clean, freshly painted nails and clean hair. You'll be surprised. I send a lot of people out to interviews and I have to do lots of interview prep. And the amount of people that have dirty hair, dirty nails, dirty hands is shocking. It is really noticeable. And it comes down to presentation and how you portray yourself. And so it's a really simple thing. No chipped nails. If you want to have nails, but make sure that they're all the same and look like work appropriate. Wash your hair. If it annoys you, tie it back. But it really does make you look more presented and more professional. Wear something you feel confident in. This one is so important. I once had an interview and I bought a new pair of shoes, and I, by the end of the interview, had the worst blisters and it completely ruined my whole interview. I didn't get the job. I was miserable and I blame the shoes. But the point of that is you have to wear something that already feels good, and that will project confidence. The better we feel in ourselves, the better we're gonna shine. So really think about what you're wearing, especially in the first week, and then you're in your stride. Know who you are meeting with and do your research. This one is so, so important, I cannot stress. Know who you're meeting with. Go onto LinkedIn, research the person, research their past jobs, Google them. We all have such a trace on the internet now, so you can find stuff out about everyone. And even if, you may be starting a job where you're not 100% sure, it's not your 100% industry, but I can guarantee that there will be somebody in that room that knows somebody that will be able to help you get to your next step. So know who is there and do your research. And then finally, the most important thing, well, one of the most important things, is plan your travel in advance. So know how you're getting to the office. Do not let train strikes, bus delays, tube strikes be an issue. Work it out the night before. If you are nervous, get there half an hour early, grab a coffee and go in. But people will notice if you're late, especially in your first week. And your first week, you really want to put your best foot forward. So just get there half an hour early and get a coffee rather than be half an hour late. So finally, this goes back to how we talk about ourselves. So like I said, one of the most common questions you're going to have in your new job and in interviews and when you're networking and in internships, you're always going to be, tell me about yourself. And I think it is a really, really hard question to answer. And so the way I teach my students to approach it is to do an elevator pitch. Now, an elevator pitch is if you were at the bottom of a lift and you were going to the top floor and somebody walks in and they are the CEO of your dream company, how are you going to sell yourself? So how I approach this is I would tell people to write an essay, kind of like a personal description of who you are. So in depth, all of your quirks, passions, skills, write it down in an essay and eventually break it down and down and down until you've got a list of bullet points. And that list of bullet points is your core of who you are, what you do and what you want and where you want to be. And that list of bullet points will evolve. So it might change in 6 months, in 3 years, in 2 years, but the core of that will always be the same. So the things that I would suggest you put into your elevator pitch would be, who are you? So what is your age? Where do you live? Where have you been? What extracurricular activities do you do? So do you like sport? Do you enjoy theatre? Are you artistic? What do you study or where did you study? What are you interested in? So that can be your career, but it also could be like, I'm really interested in plants. I don't know. What do I do? So what are my skills? Have you got great interpersonal skills? Are you very analytical? Are you very logical? What are your passions? What are your values? What do you care about? And what are your 5 values? What coursework, what classes did you do that interested you? Have you done work experience or volunteered? So that brings of who you are. And then eventually the last question is, what is your ask? So let them know how you can help. So for whoever you're meeting with, you're always going to have like a different question. So if you're meeting with someone for an interview, ultimately you're asking for a job. If you're meeting with a new colleague, you want to know what the lay of the land is. Like, how does it work here? Like, how are you going to get ahead? So if you have half an hour, I would highly suggest doing that before starting a new job, because I think the moment we often all freeze the most is when someone says, tell me about yourself. And I think this little exercise will really benefit. Well, I hope anyway. And actually, that is all me. So thank you for listening. These are my details if you ever have any questions or, yeah, so thank you. Oh, I can't hear.
Hello. Thank you
Yes.
so much for sharing your presentation. It has really been a great insight, on how to make a great first impression, and about the elevator pitch prep. I think a lot of people don't often think about that, or know that you should be prepping for that beforehand. So I think you've really covered all bases there. But what we're going to do is we can take 5 minutes or so for a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please add them into the chat now, and Elvira can answer them when they come through. Oh, lovely. There's some people that have some questions. Bear with us. And of course, after the presentation, if you have any questions afterwards, you have Elvira's details on the screen as well. So feel free to get in contact if you need to. Jensen has asked, what are the key things needed in a CV? So, yeah.
Brilliant. I think a key CVs are vital because they're your entrance into a door. So with a CV, I would always put to skills, what skills you are doing. I think with a CV, it's a clever way of approaching a CV is always include your experience, but then look at the job description and see what they want. So let's say you're going for an account director and they may want things like attention to detail, strong interpersonal skills, someone that can juggle lots of different elements. I would then put like in my opening, so I am a determined individual with strong interpersonal skills with key attention to detail. So I'm already taking what they are looking for in their job description into the opening of my CV. And then in my experience, so let's say I'll put Quest Professional and I'm going for an account director, so I need to be able to do some CRM or manage clients. I'll make sure that somehow I will make sure that Quest Professional and then bullet points of everything, all my skills. So it'll be like client management, organizing events, partnerships. So then again, those are all things I'll have taken from the job description. And that is, I know it can feel tedious, but if you, let's say I'm just using account management as a umbrella, but if you're applying for lots of account manager roles, they'll kind of be the same. But I would just always double check a job description against what is being said. And again, you can do, and if it's a first job as well, even pub jobs, restaurant jobs, all of these stuff are included in what you've done before. Like I love, for me, when I have students that have done like restaurant, pub jobs, shop assistants, anything, any job you do, it is always relatable to what you're doing next. So be creative in what you're saying.
Thank you so much,
Does that
Elvira.
answer the question?
Yeah, no. I think they've also asked kind of what's the structure of a cover letter, like a rough structure?
Yeah, cover letters I find them really difficult and they can be a little tedious because you've got to do lots. I would do an introduction of yourself, how you are best suited for the role. So, talking about, again, matching your skills to your CV and the job description. So, talk about, I'm just going to go for client management and client services because I think it's a very versatile one. So really talk about the time that, when you were waitering and you managing difficult clients and how you've overcome that. And in the end, I would explain why you want the job. So, because you're a strong people person, empathetic, you see yourself succeeding and that's why. So I would do about yourself, why you're best suited and why you want the job. And always one page. You never need to do more than one page. And actually, with a CV, this is what I would really highly recommend with a CV, never ever more than 2 pages. So always keep it to 2 pages because more than 2 pages is super overwhelming. And so like, even if you have to format it so it's smaller, just 2 pages. What is my fab? Should I do the top public speaking?
Yep, go from the top. Yep.
Fab. What is your top tip for public speaking? Yeah, public speaking's really hard and nerve-wracking. I think practice. I think lots and lots of practice, which is much easier said than done. Lots of people have like lots of managing tips before you do it. I do think it can be one of the most uncomfortable things to have to do is stand up and speak with people, but I really do believe it's something that gets easier with time and experience. I think also how you approach meeting someone. So I think I put on a mask. Basically, I pretend that I'm somebody else for half an hour, because me, myself, would hate speaking in public. But when I'm like this weird persona, it becomes easier. I think the second bit of advice I would give is know what you're talking about. If you know the topic inside and out, you're going to feel a lot more confident going into that situation. If you haven't done the preparation, you're going to feel your nerves will be far, far bigger. And the third one, which I probably should do more, is I think always think slow rather than fast. Slow and steady, because when we are nervous, we naturally speed up. So my advice would be put a mask on, do your preparation, and always be slower than you think you are. But preparation is probably the most important. Regarding the elevator pitch and what do you do bit, how relevant are things like hobbies? Do they just reinforce you around a candidate, or is best to do? So I love this question with hobbies and elevator pitch. My motto is interested people are interesting people. So people want more than just a CV. I think people, especially because it's so competitive out there, I think people want something. I think people want to hire individuals that have more than just can do the work. So I think your hobbies are really, really important. And look, it doesn't really matter what you're interested in. It can be football. I think I said plants in the presentation. Like, it doesn't, like football, shopping. I love shopping. I love it. I love beauty care. I love skincare. It doesn't really matter what it is. It can be rugby, cricket, gaming. It doesn't matter, but just have something you can talk about other than a job. And I think, yeah, I just think it shows that you're a more all-rounded person. And so you don't need to have hundreds of hobbies, but just think about if someone's like, oh, what are your hobbies? Again, a question I hate being asked because I never really know, but have something up your sleeve, because interesting people are interested people. So yeah, definitely. Good. In a job interview, could you give guidance on how much is too much to talk when talking about your own experience? Yeah, I love that question. How much is talking about your own experience too much? I think, again, this is something you can really practice for yourself before a job interview. So this is the type of prep you can do for yourself. I think you want to keep it to 1 to 2 minutes. I think it's very easy to waffle, and you want to be concise about who you are. So talk about your education, talk about your work experience. So I do a timeline. So I first started at this job. I then was more interested in higher education. So I moved to X job, and then now I'm at Y job. So I talk a bit about my professional history, a quick bit about my education. And so that's usually about 1-2 minutes, but I would try not to waffle too much. But be passionate when you're talking about yourself, because actually you've got to sell yourself. And that's your real golden opportunity to be like, I'm amazing, I deserve to be here, and I deserve this job. So when you are talking about yourself, it doesn't matter how long it is, it's just sell yourself. Like, that is your moment. How do you handle rejections, especially when there is no much reason given for them? I think rejections are brutal. And actually, I know this is not probably what you want to hear, but it really isn't often not anything to do with you. And it's just that somebody just clicked better with somebody. But my view on rejection is, I think, definitely feel the rejection, but you've got to keep going, because the more you keep going, the more likely you are not going to be rejected eventually. Rejection is natural. It's always going to happen, but you've got, I cannot stress how much, you just have to somehow find it in you to be like, right, that has happened, I will keep going. I would always ask HR or the company you're interviewing for feedback, And like I say, if they're not giving much feedback, then it really isn't anything you're doing. It's just that they've probably clicked better with someone else, which is like hugely frustrating, heartbreaking, and makes you feel rubbish. But it means that what you have done so far is good. And you just have to find the right click for you. And you do that by keep going. So just, yeah, good luck, plow through. And if it helps, everybody has been there. And it pays off eventually, I promise. Amazing.
Thank you so much, Elvira. Well, it looks like you've answered everyone's questions. So I'd like to thank you so much for, educating us and about your first week at work and how to make a good first impression. It's been really informative. And I'm sure everyone will take that with them to their first job out of uni.
Thank you so much.
So thank you to everyone that attended today as well. And I hope everyone takes care.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. It's been lovely to speak today, and good luck with everybody.
Thank you.